Hi, welcome to another episode of Market Talks. My name is Varun Sanan from Edelweiss Asset Management, and with me I have Bharat Lahoti, who's the fund manager for the hybrid/factor investing team. Hi, Bharat.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Very good, very good.
So, Bharat handles a very interesting set of products for us, which are factor-based funds, and they have been doing very, very well over the last 5 to 10 years. They're also gaining a lot of popularity in India. These funds were very popular in the West, but now what we've seen is in the last 2-3 years, they've started becoming very, very popular amongst investors, and because of reasons attributed around performance. That, to put it simply, factor-based investing क्या होता है? Let's understand that, and then थोड़ा सा और डेप्थ में जाएंगे और ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग, बहुत ही डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट को थोड़ा अलग से देखते हैं. सो भरत, व्हाट इज फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग? इसको थोड़ा सा डीमिस्टिफाई करिए ये कॉन्सेप्ट को.
So Varun, if you look at it, factor-based investing is not a new concept. It's a century-old practice which most of the investors have been doing it. Just to give you context, Benjamin Graham spoke about it. If you invest in companies which are actually trading at a below the intrinsic value, which is value companies, then you can make a lot of money. So this investing process is there for a long period of time. What is factor-based investing? If you look at it and break down into different parts, what is factor? Factor is an attribute of a stock which drives the performance. Just to give you more sense, if you look at it, people ask questions in terms of why do stock go up?
Correct.
And people try to find answers to it. Just to give you example, historically if you look at it, India's largest private sector bank was growing at 25-30% for a consistent period of time. That was driving the performance of the stock. So growth was a one factor which drove the performance kind of stuff. Just in recent times post-COVID, what we saw is that many of the government companies were trading at far below intrinsic value. So many of these government companies started doing well. So value was another factor which did well in last couple of years. So if you look at it, factor investing is investing in certain set of stock which displays certain set of attributes, whether it's growth, value, quality, and so on and so forth. So that's broadly factor investing. We are all doing factor investing. Maybe we are not knowing it, but it's already there in the market.
So Bharat, you mentioned about value investing as a subject which a lot of fund managers out there actually do it in their own funds as well. They might not be using that as the only factor, but it is a factor that a lot of these fund managers are using. Now, there are multiple factors, but help us understand what are the benefits of factor-based investing.
So Varun, if you look at it, factor-based investing is a very systematic way of doing things. It's a very process-oriented. You try to actually segregate the attributes of stocks which drives the performance. It simplifies, it's a systematic way of doing it, it reduces human biasness to a large extent. We might like a stock saying that this stock looks very interesting from ABCD perspective, but when you look at some of these attributes, you will find that it's a very different stock as compared to what you earlier thought about. And when you separate out these factors, you will understand this stock is actually a growth stock, not a value stock. And this could be a quality stock, or this stock is running up just because of no free float availability. So you try to segregate these stock attributes, and hence you would be able to actually justify performance. Second important aspect about this factor investing, it actually helps you to diversify your portfolio risk. If you look at it, you might have diversified portfolio within the sector, but you have not diversified within the style of investment. So this factor-based investing helps you in diversification of style. So you can have growth stock, value stock, and quality stock within a portfolio. So you could have different styles of portfolio stocks within a portfolio. Third important is that you can also have better risk management in terms of how you actually allocate between various factors, various sectors, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things can be benefited out of factor-based investing.
So, दो तीन चीजें मेरे को clearly समझ आ रही हैं. Firstly, factor-based investing is rule-based investing. There are rules that are already put in place, and rules will be followed irrespective of human bias. I might think differently, but if the rule says something, I have to follow that rule. The second is that some of these rules will not work all the time, And the third thing is, because it is rule-based investing, the styles are a little diversified also. Now, this is factor-based investing, right? But there is another part to it which is also very, very popular, which is fundamental investing. Now, fundamental investing has been in India for almost 25-30 years and given great results. Firstly, समझाओ कि ये fundamental investing क्या है and how are returns different in terms of factor-based funds versus fundamental-based funds?
वरुण, तो अगर देखोगे फंडामेंटल बेस्ड फंड इन्वेस्टिंग और फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग सिमिलर भी है और अलग भी है। सिमिलर कैसे है कि अगर आप किसी भी एक फंडामेंटल एनालिस्ट या पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर से बात करोगे तो यू विल गेट सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ आंसर्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट आर यू लुकिंग इन स्टॉक्स, व्हाई डू स्टॉक परफॉर्म वेल। दे विल लुक एट इट, ग्रोथ आ रही है कंपनी में, ये कंपनी का रिटर्न रेशियोज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, अच्छा है, ये कंपनी के वैल्यूएशन बहुत सस्ते हैं। ऑल दीज आर एट्रीब्यूट्स, यू कैन लोड ऑन टू दिस एट्रीब्यूट सेइंग दैट मैं ग्रोथ कंपनीज खरीद रहा हूँ, मैं वैल्यू कंपनीज खरीद रहा हूँ। सो उस खंस में ये इज सिमिलर टू लाइक फंडामेंटल इन्वेस्टिंग। What is different? Let me give you example. In 2007, there was a large NBFC company which changed its management. It was an old auto financing company. The management changed in 2007. A new management came in. He came from an MNC background. अब वो MNC background से आया था. अभी as a fundamental investor, somebody has to deep dive in terms of his pedigree. उसने क्या किया है, किस टाइप के उसकी capability है, can he build the new generation NBFC to that extent, and the fundamental investor will meet those management, try to understand that what kind of products it will be able to actually roll out, और उसके basis पे he will take a call. So वहाँ पे बहुत bottoms up investing होता है, एक एक stock के बारे में आप in depth ट्राई करते हो, उनके मैनेजमेंट के, उनके प्रोडक्ट्स के बारे में, उनके स्ट्रेंथ, उनके रिस्क मैनेजमेंट प्रैक्टिसेस, और उसके बेसिस पे आप एक व्यू लेते हो कि ये कंपनी नेक्स्ट 5-7 सालों में कैसे करेगी। फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग में एक स्टेप उसके बाद होता है जहाँ पे हम बोलते हैं कि अगर ये मैनेजमेंट हैज चेंज, हैज़ इट ट्रांसलेटेड इनटू मीनिंगफुल एट्रीब्यूट चेंज,
करेक्ट,
लाइक ग्रोथ आने चालू हो गई, क्या क्वालिटी बेटर होने लग गई, आरओईज इंप्रूव होने लग गए, अगर वो होने लग गए हैं तो स्टॉक प्राइसेस में इंप्रूवमेंट आने लगेंगे।
बिल्कुल।
सो फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग उस कंटेक्स्ट में सेम है, और क्योंकि ये टॉप डाउन अप्रोच है और फंडामेंटल investing is bottoms up approach, so those investments differences are there between the fundamental approach and factor based investing.
So are returns also different?
Not really, if you look at it, because we are looking similar parameters, हम parameters तो same ही देख रहे हैं, और एक एडवांटेज ये होता है कि हम जब इन्वेस्टमेंट एक्चुअली ग्रोथ आने लगती है या क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट होने लगती है या वैल्यूएशन सस्ते होने लगते हैं, तब आप इन्वेस्टमेंट चालू करते हो, तो उसके कारण अपॉर्चुनिटी आपको बेहतर मिल जाती है। मेरे हिसाब से अगर आप देखेंगे, इफ़ यू लुक एट इट इन कंटेक्स्ट, फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग और फंडामेंटल इन्वेस्टिंग कैन हैव 1 quarter लीड और लैग डिपेंडिंग अपॉन विच कंपनी वी आर सेलेक्टिंग इन टू दैट एक्सटेंट। समटाइम्स फंडामेंटल इन्वेस्टिंग इज बिट अहेड ऑफ इट, समटाइम्स दे आर लेट इन identifying a company which is growing fast and they have not identified. So in either case you could have 1 quarter lead lag impact which could happen, but in all return wise if you look at historical context, लास्ट 10-15 ईयर्स का डेटा देखोगे, फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग का, चाहे इंडाइसिस का डेटा देखोगे या एक्टिव फंड्स का डेटा देखोगे, आप अगर देखोगे तो उसमें डिफरेंसेस बहुत कम है।
श्योर। सो अगर डिफरेंसेस रिटर्न्स में कम है एंड यू सेड के सिलेक्शन पैरामीटर्स भी थोड़े बहुत सिमिलर हैं, सो एज एन इन्वेस्टर व्हाई शुड आई लुक एट फैक्टर बेस्ड इन्वेस्टिंग?
सो ये इन्वेस्टिंग का एक इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है कि आपका ह्यूमन बायसेस चला जाता है। दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट है ये सिस्टमेटिक प्रोसेस है, तो आपको मालूम है आप क्या ले रहे हो, आप क्या ले रहे हो, कैसे ले रहे हो और क्यों चलेगा और किस टाइम पे चलेगा। जब आप एक्टिव इन्वेस्टर लेते हो तो आप उस फंड मैनेजर के साथ अटैच हो जाते हो। ये एक रूल बेस्ड प्रोसेस है, आप रूल के साथ अटैच हो, और रूल के साथ अटैच होने का एडवांटेज यही रहता है कि आपको मालूम है आप क्या खरीद रहे हो और किस टाइम पे क्या वो करने वाला है, तो दैट इज़ द एडवांटेज ऑफ इट।
सो बेसिकली if I have to just make this simple, अगर मैं इसको क्रिकेट के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में डाल रहा हूँ, तो अगर कोई बैट्समैन है जो बहुत फास्ट खेलते हैं या T20 प्लेयर हैं, तो मुझे पता है कि अगर इनको मुझे T20 टीम में डालना है तो इन प्लेयर को डालूंगा। बट एट द सेम टाइम कोई बैट्समैन है जो कि बहुत टिक के खेलते हैं, लंबे टाइम के लिए खेलते हैं, और यू नो ही इज़ नॉट फास्ट एट स्कोरिंग रन्स, but he will stay there and for a long time, and in that long time make his runs. I will put him in a test match. So rule के हिसाब से मुझे पता है मुझे क्या कहाँ पे यूटिलाइज करना है. अंडरस्टूड. नाउ आपने एक दो फैक्टर्स के बारे में बताया, आपने क्वालिटी के बारे में बताया, आपने वैल्यू के बारे में बताया, और क्या फैक्टर्स होते हैं? व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट फैक्टर्स दैट एक्चुअली एग्जिस्ट विच वी आर यूजिंग इन इंडिया?
अगर आप देखोगे वर्ल्ड वाइड अराउंड 300 से प्लस फैक्टर्स मार्केट में अवेलेबल है, बट ये सब 300 फैक्टर्स और प्लस जो आ रहे हैं, यू कैन क्लब इनटू 6 डिफरेंट buckets kind of stuff. One is growth, where you are talking about sales growth, profit growth, operating profit growth, EBITDA growth. ये growth factor है, where we are looking at how company is growing faster. अगर आप देखेंगे कि why this is important, if company is growing, the earning share per share would improve. Correct. And consequently share prices will start improving. Yes. So that is, if company is growing faster, obviously that company will be rewarded better in the market. दूसरा बैकेट ऑफ फैक्टर है वैल्यू कंपनी. जैसे बेंजामिन ग्राहम ने बोला था, अगर इफ यू बाय कंपनीज विद बिलो इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू विच यू कैन मेजर बाय प्राइस टू अर्निंग, प्राइस टू बुक वैल्यू, ईवी टू एबिटा, बहुत सारे मल्टीपल्स अवेलेबल है मार्केट में जो लोग देखते हैं, और कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ मल्टीपल्स, दैट इज वैल्यू फैक्टर. ऑब्वियसली इफ यू बाय स्टॉक चीपर, इट्स पॉसिबिलिटी इज हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट दे कैन मेक मनी. सिंपल. तीसरा फैक्टर है साइज. अगर कंपनी छोटी होती है, उसके रेवेन्यू छोटे पोटेंशियल है, देयर इज हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी दे कैन ग्रो वेरी फास्ट, एंड हेंस साइज बिकम इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स. छोटी कंपनीज कैन ग्रो फास्टर एंड दे कैन डिलीवर. यू कैन हैव लुक्ड एट मिड कैप्स इज एक्चुअली डिलीवरिंग फार बेटर रिजल्ट्स देन लार्ज कैप्स काइंड ऑफ स्टफ. सिमिलरली छोटी कंपनी बेटर कंपनी.
तो साइज के लिए आप क्या यूज करेंगे? उनका मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन,
मार्केट कैप है, रेवेन्यू पोटेंशियल है, मार्केट शेयर है. देयर आर डिफरेंट वेज ऑफ मेजरिंग द साइज ऑफ द कंपनी टू दैट एक्सटेंट. तीसरा है कि कंपनी की वोलेटिलिटी कितनी हाई है. अगर ये सब अभी देखेंगे तो वोलेटिलिटी अगर सपोज कंपनी की बहुत लो है, तो उसका बिहेवियर रहेगा कि मार्केट अगर बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्की हो जाता है तो पीपल शिफ्ट टू दैट. सो ये एक वोलेटिलिटी अगर कम है तो वहाँ पे उसको आप मल्टीपल ज़्यादा दोगे, तो वो कंपनी भी बेटर करती है. चौथा है कंपनीज की क्वालिटी. अगर कंपनी की क्वालिटी बेटर है, उसके रिटर्न रेशियोज बेटर है, उसके लेवरेज कम है, वो कंपनी भी बेटर कर सकती है. तो ये बकेटिंग के कंटेक्स्ट में अगर देखोगे तो ये 5-6 बकेट्स हैं दैट वेयर एक्चुअली फैक्टर्स वर्क अराउंड.
Can you explain what momentum is in very simple plain language?
So momentum is, if you look at it, when a stock prices goes up, there is a huge tendency people to look at the stock prices, and this is the behavioral pattern. If stock prices go, people actually tend to actually look at stock and study more about the stock. As soon as people start studying more, they trying to get more insight about the company, and consequently they buy more and more. So winners actually try to actually do well and well to that extent. Second important factor is that whenever news comes in, people try to extrapolate those positive news or negative news. So if there is a news which is positive, people will try to exploit. Suppose company gets an order of 100 crores. People will say, okay, the company has got 100 crores, next there is a possibility there is another 100 crores order in pending. And hence people try to buy more and more of these stock. And the momentum of the winner stocks continue. Similar is the case when the stocks doesn't do well. A bad news comes in and people think there could be more bad news coming in, and consequently the stock starts falling. This phenomena, if you look at it, it's a more behavioral in nature, but it's also backed by the fact that companies which do well actually get more and more confidence to do more well. Correct. So I'm just saying, as companies get more earnings, actually they deploy more, there is a reinvestment which happens, and they can grow earnings faster. So that is broad logic to that extent, and hence the companies which are doing well continues to do well. That is the logic of momentum factor, why it does well in Indian context.
So to put it simply is, if there is momentum behind a business, and the business itself or the company itself is doing very, very well, they will ride that wave of momentum and continue to grow using their past momentum and continue to build on it and become bigger and better and stronger.
Yes.
That actually makes a lot of sense, not just in the investing world, but also in the world outside as well. तो जब हम फंड चलाते हैं तो क्या हम खाली एक फैक्टर लेके फंड चलाते हैं, or can we combine multiple factors and run a very successful strategy?
So the beauty of factor-based investing is you can run a single factor, you can run multiple factors. Most of the active factor investors run multiple factor kind of stuff. They want to mix and match. If you look at historical context, market में कोई एक factor एक time पे नहीं चलता. जैसे कोई एक sector एक time पे नहीं चलता, एक factor एक time पे नहीं चलता. अक्रॉस टाइम डिफरेंट फैक्टर चलते हैं. कोविड के बाद काफ़ी टाइम पे ग्रोथ वॉज वर्किंग वेल. कोविड से पहले अगर आप देखोगे 2015 से लेकर 17 टाइम पीरियड में क्वालिटी फैक्टर वॉज डूइंग एक्सट्रीमली वेल. उससे पहले आप देखोगे तो लो वॉल वॉज डूइंग वेरी वेल. तो अक्रॉस टाइम पीरियड्स different factors start.
And recently value did very well.
And momentum is doing well. If you look at global context, last 1 साल से momentum has done very well in last context.
Correct.
And that is doing well even today as we speak. Kind of stuff. So that is where how things happen now.
So I think what I am understanding is that then it is better to have a multi-factor approach. So that you get best of all the worlds. 2-3 factors अगर आपने club कर दिए तो if something is not working, something else is working, and that diversification leads to better results over a period of time.
Yes, multi-factor, if you look at it, will lead to better results because it increases the return potential and it reduces it. On a risk-adjusted basis, आप देखोगे तो multi-factor will be far better off to that extent. But having said so, a single factor also makes lot of sense when you want to actually introduce depending upon macroeconomic scenario. जैसे अगर interest rate जा रहे हैं, नीचे गिर रहे हैं, तो आप कोशिश करोगे कि आप low leverage वाली कंपनीज ज़्यादा लें.
So now every economy is different and every economy is working in a different way. China is coming out of a big slowdown. The US economy has growth, but their main point of contention is to lower inflation right now and to work around high interest rates and that regime. India is all about growth. We are one of the most meaningful, fastest growing economy. So in India's context for investors, where should investors be looking to invest in what kind of factors in the next say 1 to 3 years?
So you are rightly said, India is all about growth. हमारे GDP growth 7-8% के अराउंड होता है. Global context में it's a very high growing economy to that extent. So India में growth factor हमेशा better करता है as compared to some of the other factors. Second important factor is where India does well is momentum. If you look at it, India में क्योंकि liquidity बढ़ती जा रही है तो momentum factor does very well. अगर आप recent past देखेंगे तो momentum factors has done exceedingly well. 2 momentum factor में अगर आप देखोगे कि momentum factor के जो portfolio बनते हैं उसका valuation has increased substantially. But if you look at it, the earnings upgrade of those momentum portfolio has actually also improved. So there is a lot of momentum within the momentum portfolio which one has to think about it. So you have to think it, the earning momentum in the momentum portfolio is very high. Second important thing is the crowding of momentum factor has not happened so far. People are still skeptical about momentum as a factor in Indian context, and we think there is opportunity for momentum to play further on from this. So this is an interesting proposition. Growth does well, momentum does well, and also quality does well in India. Indian context, if you look at it, there are only few handful companies which you can classify as a quality
high
companies.
quality companies.
And consequently उनका PE मल्टीपल हमेशा हाई रहता है और वो रहता ही हमेशा है. हमने लास्ट 20 सालों में देखा उसका PE मल्टीपल हमेशा महंगा ही रहता है
और फिर भी वो स्टॉक्स अच्छा कर रहे हैं,
चलते रहते हैं. तो क्वालिटी ऑल्सो डज वेल. So 3 factors we should concentrate in Indian context very well is growth, momentum and quality. And there would be time in between. You will have value doing well, there will be time when low wall does well, and that is the time where you.
So आपने growth तो समझा दिया था हमें, which was basically earnings per share या company की growth in terms of revenue. Quality also you explained. Quality has 3 main things in it, which is earnings per share or growth of revenue, profitability, profit growth, and low leverage or low debt to equity. Now, to wrap all of this up, I asked you this question earlier, but if I have to put this question a little differently, what are the 2-3 factors that you think should actually be combined to make a great product, or investors should look at in terms of that ये सब चीज़ें तो हमारे पास होनी चाहिए कहीं ना कहीं अपने पोर्टफोलियो में.
You rightly said. As I said, India में there are 2-3 factors which works well: quality, growth, momentum. A mix of those two can do well, kind of stuff. If you look at it, momentum plus quality can do well. You are buying quality stocks, and if there is a momentum in that stocks, actually they can do very, very well. Right? Secondly, if there is a momentum in stock and the stock is of low vol, volatility of the stock is low, but momentum is very high, which is another important aspect which you can go around. NSE has a lot of indices to that extent. If you look at it, NSE has built many single factor indices, also multiple factor indices. You have momentum index, NSE 230 index kind of stuff, which is a good index to the holder. It also has Nifty alpha vol low vol index, which is also good, a kind of mix of momentum plus low vol kind of stuff. So there are multiple indices which you can invest in out context.
So आपने बताया that NSE has a lot of these factors. तो ये सारे indices कौन बनाता है? Who manufactures all these indices? Do we make these indices, or companies like us make these indices, or exchanges like BSE and NSE make these?
The NSE makes all these indices. So the
And BSE.
And BSE makes all these indices. Even MSCI or the global indices, you have the global index providers do the activity. These are independent firms which actually creates those strategy based indices to that extent. So there is no intervention from an AMC or any other portfolio manager who build all these indices. So in passive investment, it's very simple to that extent. Active manager uses those indices as a tool to understand how markets are shaping up.
Understood. Now let's turn this a little around and move from just pure play factor based, rule based, 100% rule based investing to a mix of rules, but there is active management behind those rules. And I think you also do this a lot in your investing style. You use a lot of these rules and you do your own discretion on these rules and come up with a solution. How does these two things actually work together?
So if you look at in world of investing, there is an active management where the fundamental investors look at companies from a bottoms up perspective, that is purely active management. Then there is the index providers who provide rule based solution, which is extremely passive kind of stuff. You don't have to do anything. We do something in between where we do something active and also somewhere between rule based investing kind of stuff. What we tend to do is that we take certain set of rules, we understand the macroeconomic scenario, which kind of rules will work according to which kind of scenario, and try to blend out with that kind of stuff. Just to give you example, in a rising interest rate scenario, what kind of factors will work kind of stuff. So you will look for more quality names. Correct. Because in a rising interest rate scenario, a high leverage company will have a lot of problems to that extent. So you will look for more quality names, company with low leverage to that extent. In a low interest environment, actually more of a growth, high growth companies will do well to that extent. So the active factor management is all about how you are mixing all these factors depending on many macroeconomic scenarios to that extent. So that's what active investing. Second important thing, active investing is not only about stock selection, it's also about asset selection. So when to get into equity markets, when to get out of equity market, factors can tell you. Momentum is one good factor where it can tell you if market momentum is good for equity market, you will be in equity markets. When market momentum is bad in equity market, you get out of equity market. So that is also the important factor to understand how asset allocation behaves to that extent. Depending on which asset class is showing momentum, you can actually shift to different asset classes. That is how we actually tend to work around models both in asset allocation and portfolio selection.
Understood. This was very, very interesting, Bharat, and thank you for taking us through all of this. In fact, I am enlightened today by understanding some of these factors which I didn't know earlier, but I hope so are you. And I think this factor-based investing is something that is catching up very, very fast in India. And as investors, I would suggest everyone keep an eye out for some of these. So thank you so much for watching this series today. And I'm sure we'll be back with more interesting content as we go along. Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Edelweiss Mutual Fund, and click on the bell icon for notifications. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.